welcome to this session. I'm Rachel Repper. I'm from Amazon Business and absolutely delighted to be joined in conversation by Lani Adebanjo, who is the Global Head of Source to Pay for Meta, Instagram, Facebook, Metaverse, and also by Peter Sowrey, who's the Chief Procurement Officer of Centrica, the energy company that was sort of formed out of British Gas and various other organisations. And the session that we're going to be running today is hearing from Lani and Peter about their experiences in digitalising tail spend. What you may not know about Amazon is we develop our products and services by starting with a customer problem and then working backwards from that problem to develop a solution. And that's how Amazon Business was born in 2015. We had commercial customers who were telling us that they had business needs. They wanted to have an Amazon-like experience, but there were business-specific requirements that they had. And that was specifically around the tail spend management, from sole traders to multinational companies managing hundreds and thousands of suppliers in some instances. And with that came a disproportionate burden on finance and procurement teams. That's in the process of raising POs, requisition, reconciling payments, managing the supplier base, the number of suppliers, the risk within that supply chain. And quite often those processes were manual for tail spend. So what they wanted was a digital tail spend solution. Now, before we go into conversation with Lani and Peter on their journey, because you're going to be hearing from them, not me, I just want to make sure that everybody's really clear on what Amazon Business is, because you may not. We're also stand 3 in the first expo hall, so please do come and see us if you've got any Amazon Business questions. If you want to ask questions of Lani and Peter, then you can submit them on Slido. For Amazon Business, please come to the stand because I want to allow them to talk. So 2015, we started off as Amazon Supply. And as you can see from our latest marketing campaign, 2023, we now do everything from paper clips to particle counters. What is Amazon Business? It is everything that you love about Amazon in your personal life, but specifically built for businesses. So you can have direct access on the website, or you can integrate into your ERP, punching out from your ERP, e-invoicing, integrated search, single sign-on, guided buying, approval workflows. All of that is possible through Amazon Business. It is the marketplace that with the breadth of suppliers, so many suppliers that you'll be dealing with in your tail will be supplying through Amazon Business, but actually you only need to have one supplier of record and one supplier to maintain, because you will be invoiced by Amazon Business if you enable Invoice by Amazon. So it's around simplifying that tail spend and giving you a digital experience built on AWS, data-rich, 100% visibility of the spend going on, and guardrails of whatever approval workflows you want to put in place. We're global, so we work for multinational companies as well, and we have many of our customers are multinational. And we have 6 million Amazon Business customers, and as an example, we have 66 of the FTSE 100 companies. And we also have a lot of sole traders, very small businesses as well. So that's the sort of canter through Amazon Business, and please do come to the stand if you want to know any more and the relevance for your own organisation. I'm going to start off with you, Lani. Can you tell me what was the one problem that you needed to solve around your tail spend in Meta, and what was the moment that you realised you needed to do something about it?
So I will rephrase that. It's one of the many problems we needed to solve. It wasn't one thing. But Meta is a huge global company, as many of you know, and we empower employees to make the right decision. So everyone at Meta is a buyer. Everyone at Meta can buy anything. And we realized that empowerment also led to so many different spend channels that we had absolutely no visibility into. So you had employees who were using personal cards, using their Amex, cutting POs, having buyers support them, so professional buyers will support the process. And we had absolutely no visibility into all the spend. We didn't know if you were buying data-bearing assets or if you were buying pens and pencils, because everyone was just cutting POs and using credit cards and P cards to buy whatever they needed. And so for us, it was, how can we get control of that tail spend? How can we consolidate where possible? How can we ensure that we have visibility into what MetaMates we're buying? How can we put some spend thresholds too? Because, I mean, you have employees buying $10,000 worth of whatever it is, and we have absolutely no idea what it is. And it was like, how can we provide that Amazon-like experience, but in a consumer, like not the consumer experience, but in a business setting? And I think the biggest thing is just mitigating that risk, because an employee could be buying a data-bearing asset that's not tracked internally, that could be used to share information, and then will end up on the news. And so for us, it was multiple things. So the consolidation of the spend, managing that tail spend, and getting that spend visibility as well. Also reducing the cycle time, because you'll have employees who will cut POs for things like office supplies that'll take weeks to get it. And like reducing that cycle time is also another experience that we were looking to tackle.
And what about you, Peter, in Centrica? What was your big challenge and your aha moment? We've kind of got to move on addressing this.
Everything Lani said. Plus a few other things for us. Hi, everybody. Big warm welcome. I think for us, it was an interesting time. I took over as CPO 4 years ago. I couldn't tell where the tail ended and the dog started. It was a big challenge for us and an opportunity, I would say. We had a new CEO, a new COO, a new CPO, lots of OOs come in. And I think Chris, our CEO, we kind of agreed he would push from the top and I would push from the bottom. And those who know our brand, know who we are, know we have a challenging time in the UK. And I think we wanted to improve our customer experience, our supplier experience, our employee experience. And I think for me, I kind of looked at all the focus was on the tail, what we thought was the tail, and not the focus was not on the core categories. We needed to make our customers safer in their homes and drive obviously our revenues and our profitability. So we kind of tried to look at a different situation and look at what was the tail, what could we manage, and then what was important to us, then what could we actually look at moving into a different model. And we chose Amazon as that model, but hopefully that explains a bit.
It does. And what was the reason for deciding to work with the Amazon business?
For us, we were doing, as I said, we've got 10,000 amazing people who go out in vans every day trying to fix people's problems in their homes. And for us, experience, they were saying we have Ariba as our standard platform across the group. But the guys and girls in our vans, Ariba's pretty useless to them. They wanted an Amazon-like experience. Yeah. They kept saying, in all the surveys we were doing, give us an Amazon-like experience. So we decided we would give them an Amazon-like experience, and we built with Amazon, the Amazon experience into the Ariba platform. And that was kind of what drove us to, we were looking for that. We could have gone a different direction, but I think what we saw was the end-to-end capability with predominantly a UK-driven business. Although at that time we had America as well, we don't have anymore. So it's made sense for us, and it was an easy no-brainer for us, because what we were looking for was that prime time, delivery. Our engineers need stuff to fix things, and we need, stuff to drive stuff. And our businesses, in their operations need stuff to operate for us. And COVID was, for us, that opportunity to really drive a radical change as well in the org.
And what about for you, Lani? What is it that has driven your decision around the partners that you've worked with for your tail spend?
Everything he said. No, but seriously, we have a vision in SourceToPay to build an end-to-end buying experience that's unrivaled. And everyone at Meta has used Amazon at some point. And so when we did the UX research, you're like, well, if we were looking to provide this experience, who would you want us to use? And it's like, well, if you can build that Amazon-like experience, so we don't, because we build everything at Meta, and we're like, well, we can't possibly build with multiple suppliers, but if there's one person who can meet the needs of most, who would that be? And it was Amazon Business, and it was a no-brainer. We have our homegrown e-procurement system, and Amazon was able to work with that, integrate with our touchless invoicing process as well, and support the different types of organizations and businesses within Meta as well. So for us, it was like one of our values is to move fast. Who can help us do that? Amazon Business. Who can help provide that unrivaled experience for MetaMates? Amazon Business. And who is also technology savvy that can provide the infrastructure we need to merge into our ERP? Is Amazon Business.
And we're currently in a project at the moment, aren't we, where we're developing a bespoke e-invoicing solution, which will only be for Meta because nobody else has got your ERP. But you know, we integrate into many of the ERPs that you'll all be familiar with. I mean, one of the things that I often get asked, because people do aspire to devolve out requisitioning to their end users, is around the risk of people going mad on Amazon. You know, there's a sort of perception, if I give them Amazon, then goodness knows what they're going to buy, and there's all this choice, and my tail spend is going to go up. Can you tell me how you manage that risk, Lani?
Well, initially we didn't. In full transparency, we had employees who overly adopted Amazon Business. So you had people saying, well, there's sun hitting my glass wall where I sit, so I need sunglasses, and Amazon Business has Versace sunglasses, so I'm going to buy those. That's not exactly a business purchase, but you can definitely spin that to make it seem like it's justified. And so we had that type of, what would we call it, overexcitement at the fact that we had Amazon Business, but we also realized we have guided buying policies built into Amazon Business that we could definitely leverage. So we started off trusting a little too much and then had to scale that back to say, okay, so what are the things we don't want employees buying? And sunglasses is definitely top of that list. But we built the guided buying policies and realized that we could set the control limits that we wanted, so we could protect Meta as well. We could prevent dangerous goods, or we could integrate that into our H&S approvals. We could prevent people from buying data-bearing assets, which was a big thing for us, where if you're buying serialized or data-bearing assets, we want you to go through the proper channels. And so with Amazon Business, we were able to set those limits within the experience, and I think that would be like one of those things.
And one of the things we're working on at the moment, isn't it, is we have a professional services team, and we're working to what your preference is, what you're choosing to curate, and you know, having those preferred lists, items, and options. So really important for our business customers that they do have access to those guardrails they want to have on their spend. And if you've got ERP systems, then those approval workflows that are built into your ERP and any guided buy you want in place can absolutely flow through. And for you, Peter, how did you manage that in Centrica, that rollout to your broader requisitioning population?
We had many of the same issues and concerns that Meta had as well. I think for us, we decided, as we were reinventing our company and our organisation and changing a lot of our operating procedures, we would empower all of our employees to be able to spend up to, is it 200, 250? 200. Chris Hunter's in the end. If you ever want the real details of what's going on, speak to Chris. He's here from Centrica. But so we empower all of our employees to spend up to £200 on our procurement platform and also on our T&E platforms. And then we're monitoring that. We have obviously commodities turned off. As Lani said, data-bearing assets and those kind of stuff. But we've empowered the business to, and our users to be able to buy what they need as and when they need it. And it's worked very well. And what we do is we get really good reporting coming from Amazon. It actually feeds into our Workday system as well as our Ariba system, so we can see any sort of trends and any concerns we're looking for. And we have caught a few, to be honest, and we found them when people have gone a bit, Apple AirPods at Christmas time, kind of goes up a bit, and we look into that very carefully, And I think, that's our opportunity. But what we've done is, really been able to sort of drive our total NPS score in our organisation to understand, we've empowered our people to do what they need to do to get what we need to get their job done. As I said, it worked very well during COVID when we had to push everyone back home, So that was kind of what drove us. But we have, as I said, we have certain commodities turned off, and so when you put this platform in, whether you put it on Ariba or whatever tool, we have Ariba internally. It's done. You're constantly working with a system day in, day out to optimize, bring on new categories, turn off, limit, certain categories. We're looking at putting uniforms on there at the moment, and we'll allow our engineers to buy, 2 pairs of boots a year and 5, shirts and whatever they need. But we'll control all that within the platform, and that's a cross between what we do with Amazon and what sits in Ariba as a whole. So.
And in terms of going on that digital tail spend journey, what has the result been for your organisation and workforce, Lani? What have you seen as a difference?
I think there are different layers to that. So we have what the benefits have been to our leadership teams and then to the general population at Meta. For leadership, the biggest thing is that spend visibility. We're able to see which teams are spending what and on what types of items. We're able to set thresholds so that it feed into our approval process. So similarly to you, Peter, most employees are set at $200 before it goes through approvals. So we have a big thing around touchless spend, and we don't want to insert bodies where we don't need to insert bodies. So with that regard, leadership is a little comfortable knowing that, okay, we've set this $200 limit, and for different levels, you have a higher spend authority. But we have the analytics as well that's built in. So we have at-a-glance real-time reporting that shows how we're spending and on what types of items, which allow us to pivot and modify those policies where necessary. But for MetaMates, I think the biggest thing is that value we have moved fast. We're Amazon Business, sometimes within or less than 24 hours, we have items. So whether I'm looking for AirPods or my labs are looking for chemicals for certain types of an R&D or whatever the case may be, or the AR glasses for prototyping, they're able to get these things really quickly. Or if we're standing up a new project and we're saying that we need equipment to do testing and we need that within 24 hours, Amazon Business is able to meet that need. So not only are you eliminating the need to cut POs or to have to do a lot of searching with multiple suppliers, all of that information is readily available at a glance within Amazon Business, and I think that's one of the biggest values. So we've seen adoption grow exponentially. Even teams that were previously maybe patronize other suppliers for certain items, because historically maybe you may go to the Grangers or Fastenals, we see that they're now adopting Amazon Business because of better pricing, quicker, faster lead times. So that cycle time, it's a big thing for us in procurement. So cycle time optimization for our data centers and our labs. And they're now moving more and more towards getting these items from Amazon. And one of the things we've been able to do now is integrate WorkSmart so that items that have a safety data sheet can go through for H&S approval. And that way, more and more of these items can be procured through Amazon Business.
And what about for you, Peter? What are the changes that you've seen in practices, processes, and the results that have come?
I think we were looking at the whole iceberg, so not just what we buy, but our end-to-end process. So we have about 25,000 transactions going through the Amazon platform today that are purely digital. So there's no one involved in the process. There's no approvals technically. And the invoices come back in electronically and they post, so no humans get harmed from the process. So we've looked at that whole end-to-end process, and it sort of eradicates, but gives us a lot of control that we probably didn't have in the past. Yeah? We had a lot of maverick buying. The other thing we still see a lot from Amazon is reporting, really good reporting. And one of the bits of reporting that's useful is people are still buying with their Centrica.com, but privately, yeah? And that flies up in our reporting as well. So one of the changes we had to do is really push our users to stop using their business email address for private use and really think about that because it kind of really skews our data. Use your private email address if you want to work deliberately. But I think it's exposed a whole lot of what's happening in the business really fast, whether we're buying fire extinguishers or power stations or uniforms or for our sales guys, actually one of the most important things for them was printer cartridges. We have a big, massive warehouse up in Leicester, and everything used to go into that warehouse and then back out, and we'd ship overnight into a buy box. Now, a simple thing like a print cartridge for our sales force, as they go out to people's homes, they basically it ships directly to their home. And it's, not only was it a good story, and much better pricing buying direct from Amazon. But also, it was a better story from a carbon perspective as well. Our guys didn't have to drive 25 miles to their closest Sainsbury's or buy box just to pick up a print cartridge. And so we've used it as ways of changing the organisation and eliminating waste in process wherever we could. And we're still doing it. It's an ongoing process. And we have very ambitious plans to grow this relationship as a whole.
And what's next on... I'll ask the question of you, Peter, because you've sort of touched on it, and I'll come to you, Lani. So what is next for you on your digital transformation roadmap?
So we've done a lot of work, also with you guys in Amazon around, imagining a world, and some of you, if you're from the UK, will know our business. And if you're sat at home and you're a mum with 2 kids and your boiler's blown up and it's not working, but you've called up our help desk, an engineer comes and then has to, find those spare parts, and work out, but it doesn't work out until it gets using AIs and using some of the Amazon AIs, we'll start to be able to predict what spare parts will be needed for that particular boiler and actually prime them directly to that house. So the engineer will just send back what he doesn't use. So I think we're starting to think about using things in very intelligent ways. And to me, net zero is just good business. And I think it's around looking at a wasting process and any process you take within procurement, within supply chain, and looking how you can make it more efficiently. So we're looking more and more to bring more and more onto our platform. Our category managers all have targets to increase their spend ratios with Amazon, and we're driving that because it's a more efficient way for us to operate and allows us to really focus on our core business and try and keep people warm and safe in their homes, which is what our ambition as a company is to do. And that's kind of why we see linking all this stuff together is really, really important for us as an organisation.
And what about you, Lani? What's next on your roadmap of digitalisation?
I'd say the biggest thing we're focusing on right now, beyond the global expansion, we won't talk about that, is leveraging generative AI to inform us of what we're buying and drive more compliance with our policies. So we're looking at taking the UNSPSC data from Amazon Business and using that to tweak our model internally so that, one, we can better inform employees who are buying items, also surface this information to the budget owners as well. Mm-hmm. But we need to sort of build this model, refine the model, and then use that to sort of say, okay, what are we seeing from a spend perspective? Surface better insights to the managers and better owners and budget owners as well, and also inform MetaMates, because you may be buying an item, but you don't realize that that item may be potentially flagged as a violation of policy, or there may be opportunities to purchase through one of our preferred suppliers with Amazon Business. So say you're buying from one supplier, but you can buy this item from a diverse supplier with an Amazon Business. Like surface better insights to not just the employee, but to the manager and the budget owners as well. And so we're building a generative AI model to support that.
Yeah, and I think, it was touched on in the previous session, wasn't it? Data and good data, accurate data is absolutely key. The cheapest item is the one that you can stop people buying. If you can reduce consumption, it doesn't matter whether you're getting, 5 cents off something. If you can get rid of that spend entirely, that's where you really save the big bucks, and you get to do that through data, I would suggest. So we've got 6 minutes left, and I'm really keen to give the audience opportunity to ask their questions of Lani and Peter. As I said, we'll be down on the booth. Have we got any questions come on Slido? Woohoo! Oh gosh. Right, that's glasses. Right. Our main challenge at the moment is to manage the tail of suppliers for direct business, considering compliance issues, master data requirements, etc. What is your take on that? Whew. Peter, do you understand the question? Are you able to answer it? Who asked the question? Is it?
Let's say the risk is a little bit lower and it's easier, but what about the direct business? I mean, where we have higher risk and more compliance issues and so on, but we still want someone else to manage it?
So I think for us in Centrica, we are moving more and more. We will move more of our direct business into Amazon. And the reason behind that, so there's certain things, if you think of CrowdTech, our really core, strategic suppliers will not move those. But, some of our direct suppliers that supply a lot of the stuff we need to do, we move. And we can, one of the things you can do with Amazon Business, that probably haven't explained very well, is you can actually bring your suppliers onto Amazon Business as well, and have them, even actually have them hold their stock, for you. And that's some of the stuff we're working on. I think the first thing we're going to do is uniforms. Is that right, Chris? Yeah, but we'll move more of our direct stuff on there. And there'll be more, things in our business, pumps and all that kind of stuff. We need to manage a heating business. But so it's moving more and more from the indirect business, but also challenging existing. And this is, probably one of the hardest things we didn't touch on is the sacred cows in the organisation and the ways of working. Our company's over 220 years old, something in astronomics. So there's a lot of legacy, and changing those ways of working, it's quite challenging for us as an org. But we're doing it one bit at a time. But I think you can start putting your direct stuff from there, and then really focusing on what is core to your business and what's really important to your business. Then and if you think of all the legislation that's coming online, you'll probably want to start thinking about that as well, because you can start having to report and record how things. For us, in the battery business, we're having to work out different types of chemistries and how we buy them, because they impact the labour and they impact the environment as well. So we're thinking more about what's really core to us and what can we actually push more into a delivered warehouse from an Amazon-like solution. So.
Thanks.
So question on, can you elaborate more on the use of generative AI to optimise tail spend? Lani?
So take a step back. When the AI option was first introduced, I thought, okay, we're going to have this super fancy model that's just going to take all our data and spit out models that will tell us, well, this is where you could potentially leverage bulk pricing, negotiate better, or curb all non-compliant spend. Unfortunately, that was not the case. So just for anyone, generative AI requires certain inputs to be able to spit out the output you require. And so for us, being able to take the analytics from Amazon Business and pour that into our generative AI model and build or layer business rules on top of that is kind of how we've made this work for us, in the sense that we have procurement policies that we want employees to comply with. We have different categories that we want to kind of surface to see how we're doing in those areas as far as spend. And we want to be able to flag these things or take that data and surface it so that we can use it to make better buying decisions. And so what has worked for us is taking sort of the L1 to L3 categorization from Amazon Business, pull that into our generative AI model and tweak that model, and then build business rules on top of that. So say if these items or these particular types of items are coming through, flag as potentially non-compliant. Or if we're seeing XYZ spike in these types of items, so say tablets or whatever the case may be, flag it for this team, and reports are built off of that. So they're sent at different cadence to the teams who want to see the spend details. So whether it's our H&S team that wants to see how many items we purchased that had a safety data sheet and make sure we're compliant in that area, or if it's our IT teams that want to see how many items were purchased where we could potentially have to do remote asset tagging because we need to track it as an asset. So we basically take that information that's coming from Amazon Business and mine it internally with the generative AI model, and then use business rules on top of that to sort of inform us of how we're spending.
Thanks. Peter, there's a question about, and you mentioned you didn't know where the dog started and the tail started. So question that has come on Slido is, how do you define tail spend? What's the criteria that you apply within Centrica?
So we've done something in Centrica this year, I would say it's very unusual. We've rebuilt our procurement organisation predominantly around CrowdTech. And so we're putting everything in our leverage box now, and built an organisation around leverage, strategic, bottleneck, and whatever else is in there, and recut our organisation along that kind of dimension. So we come really into sort of proper portfolio management. But technically for us, what we're saying is anything in the leverage box, if we can't push it out into one of the other boxes, is what we're going to treat as tail spend management. Anything, someone in the last question asked about RFPs, a guy from CBRE, I think it was. For us, that's where we'll be doing a lot of RFPing. That's where we'll be driving a lot of change and challenge in our leverage box. And that's stuff where we're constantly not really interested in much more than the price, and the quality and all the kind of other stuff that goes behind all that stuff. But that's kind of how we're redefining our tail now. We're not going to, because we're not in the world anymore, where we had 4 or 5 people looking after our stationery supplier, 4 or 5 years ago. We don't care about stationery. Amazon does stationery for us now, so we don't worry about that. But what we see now as our tail is our leverage box. What can we leverage? What can we swap out? What's easier? So that's kind of from our perspective. I think that's the way we've ended up thinking about it for this year and rebuilt the org around that and the operating models around that kind of concept. Because what was really important for us is, and I saw one of the suppliers downstairs was called trust, and having those trusting relationships with your suppliers was really important for us, and we didn't have it 4 years ago. I think our key critical suppliers, and if you imagine we're a company that makes nothing, we install other people's equipment or maintain it, we need to have very trusting relationships. So our strategic categories are really focused on trust and building, and they're not going to be in the business of RFPing very much, so in the business of what we call collaborative value management, growing those relationships and smarting them out. But a long answer, apologies. We're out of time.
So thank you very much for joining us all today. Thank you so much, Lani, from flying over from Austin, Texas. Peter for coming in from the UK. And please do join us at the Amazon Business Stand if you've got any questions for us. Thank you.
Thank you.